Good evening, and indeed, hello. Welcome to the Rory Awards 2015. Now, what a star-studded audience I have in front of me this evening. And indeed, what a year it's been, both for myself and film this year. I started in London, I went to Milan, Paris, New York, Tokyo, and we end up here in Leeds. And what a year it's been for films too. January brought us the awards season with a whole host of great films. The summer had some great action blockbusters and superhero movies. In the autumn we had some seasonal horror. And 50 Shades of Grey later we find ourselves here once again at the Rory Awards. So ladies and gentlemen, grab your cans of iron brew, set your video quality to 480p and get yourselves comfy for the Rory Awards 2015. And to give us the awards this evening, please welcome the one, the only, Monkey. Good evening, Monkey Man, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm ever so well, thank you, Rory.
Are you excited for this evening?
Yeah, just a little bit, I think that I am.
Oh, good, right. Well, we'll see you later, no doubt. Goodbye. There it is, the coveted Rory Awards envelope, full of goodies. And so to begin the ceremony, we start with the Best Soundtrack Award. The nominations are Being John Malkovich 2 and Song of the Sea. And this award goes to the very worthy Song of the Sea, which was nominated for the Best Animation at the Oscars 2015. It combines song and folklore with utterly unique and properly lovely animation. I think what I loved most about the soundtrack was how they managed to make it so much at one with the storytelling so that it became the sort of centrepiece for the story itself. The songs have that magical, otherworldly element to them, but the instruments used are quite grounded so that the folk songs seem like they've been around forever. The film wouldn't be what it is without that soundtrack, and I think that's why it's so deserving of this award this year. It's a great animation, a great film. I would highly recommend you go and check it out. And so it's on to Best Comedy Film, and again it's been another great year. Firstly we had Being John Malkovich 2. I saw Spy in a free screening where I was sat next to an old man who was not up for the swearing. And the makers of that film are very much up for the swearing, so that made for a very uncomfortable 2.5 hours. But a great film, so funny. Elsewhere, Tess Morris made a really lovely and typically British rom-com in the shape of Man Up, starring Simon Pegg and Lake Bell, who I am now absolutely in love with. I started at the film not that bothered, and then by the end I was like, oh, love me, love me. No reply on Tinder as of yet, but we wait in hope. But the award goes without any real competition to Jermaine Clement's What We Do in the Shadows, a vampire mockumentary that is truly one of a kind. It's masterful in its direction, and every gag, no matter how small, be it visually or from the script, is captured to full effect. It's layered, it's self-aware, it's dry, it's got a great wealth of characters, albeit quite male-heavy. And more than anything, I think it's not seen by enough people. So I want to give it this award because, firstly, I haven't laughed this much at a film in a fair few years, but I also really want it to get that recognition that it deserves. So please go out and find it, and I promise you will laugh so hard. It's a great film, great comedy. And then come and find me when you've watched it about my feet and give me all the credit. I want to get this out of the way early. This year I've barely been able to afford to go and see the films that I wanted to see, so I certainly didn't have the time or money to go and see bad films that I'd heard bad things about. I spent £30 going to see this film, which is getting the biggest disappointment award, and I'm sad to say it's the Minions movie. Now, I'm not saying it's a terrible film, some of you might be quite surprised at my choice. I did laugh, and I didn't come out going, well, that was a complete disaster. But I was so disappointed following the success of the first two, and I thought they were really lovely and charming and funny films. This one, you could see where they were trying to go with it and what they were trying to do. I just think it fell way short of the mark. But I think luckily receiving this award won't leave their reputation in tatters, because I hear they've already made at least £17 from merchandise alone. On to the next award, which is Best Films Not Released in 2015. There's 3 choices this year. Firstly, Touching the Void. It's an outstanding documentary about 2 guys who face certain death at the top of a mountain. It's quite formulaic in the way that it tells the story, you know, it's just two guys saying this is what happened to us and then they cut to clips and everything. But the actual story is so unbelievable that you think this can't be true, you can't possibly have survived this. You have to keep sort of reminding yourself that these are the guys telling the story that it happened to. It's one of those where so many small things add up to a big problem. And if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure a lot of you have already, do find it, it's great. Secondly, Your Sister's Sister. It's a mumblecore story that was recommended to me on the night when I just posted on Facebook, recommend me a film please. And the person who did then got a 2-page email back because I loved it so much and I just gave her a big long list of the reasons why I liked it so much. Never got a reply, I think she was just going, this is alright. It's amazing, do check it out. It's only specific to people who like that kind of film, but if you are into the mumblecore movement, you will love it, I promise. And finally, The Hunt, a Danish drama starring Mads Mikkelsen, which is the story of a small community in which a man is accused falsely of paedophilia and follows the witch hunt. I think what's most impressive about it is the fact that you know from the outset that he hasn't done anything wrong. So it's not a thriller where the audience are left to make their own minds up. It's a drama that forces the audience to question whether the way that it's handled is correct. You don't get that many films where the audience are left to question themselves at the end of it. It was really tough to watch, but it's really worth seeing. And Mads Mikkelsen, as ever, just absolutely on top form. On to the next award. It is the actor who appeared in every film in 2015. Congratulations, Domhnall Gleeson! Every single film I would be watching, he'd have at least a small bit part, even if it was just walking in the background with his big ginger hair flowing in one of his 70 different accents that he seems to be able to do. He's a great actor, my god, he got into every film this year. The next award is the biggest surprise. Basically, a film that I expected to be shit and turned out alright. The nominations are Being John Malkovich 2. The award goes to No Escape, starring Owen Wilson and again the lovely Lake Bell. And despite its xenophobic tendencies, I went into that film expecting it to be really rubbish because, you know, you've got a comic actor trying action and it's got like that B-movie vibe to it that was perfectly intentional, I'm sure. And I thought, well, this is just going to be trash, isn't it? But for most of the film I actually had chest pain because I was that worried about whether the family were going to get out. It's so, like honestly, don't just dismiss it because it's got like 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. Check it out, it's really good. Up next is Person Who Stole My Look. The nominations are Joseph Iliff, Being John Malkovich 2, and Oscar Isaacs in Ex Machina. It goes to Oscar Isaacs in Ex Machina. You know, he's got the no hair and the big beard. It's completely just looking like me. He's done it all completely.
Well, I disagree. Well, I mean, come on, like, think about it. He's shaved his hair. He's still got some hair. You just have no hair. It's not a choice you've made. That's not a look.
Yeah, but with the in the big... Can we just say I look like Oscar Isaacs, please? Up next is a very big award. It is Best Male Performance. And the nominations are Joseph Iliff, Being John Malkovich 2, Tom Hanks, Bridge of Spies. And the award goes to Tom Hanks in Bridge of Spies. It seemed to be a film where every single performance was amazing in it. It's difficult to pick out one good one. Obviously, there's him and Mark Rylance sort of battling it out with each other. I've seen Tom Hanks in loads of good films. I think he's a brilliant actor. And even if he only does 1 or 2 films a year, you know that you are getting 2 great films. You can go into that and expect it to be great. Up next, Best Female Performance. And the nominees are Joseph Iliff, The Danish Girl 2, and Saoirse Ronan, Brooklyn. Please take a step up to the mic, Saoirse Ronan. From a purely sceptical and miserable point of view that I take personally, the dilemma in Brooklyn is, oh, 2 guys love me at the same time. Yeah, that must be really horrible for you. What she managed to do with her performance was make you realise that it's not her fault that she's in that situation, but she's still the person who's having to break someone else's heart. She's realised that the art of working with a camera is that you only have to do a look down or a look to the side or a simple gesture and you can tell so much about that character. She's become one of those actors who really knows the power of simplicity, and I think that is why she deserves this award for her role in Brooklyn this year. On to the next award. It is Best Star Wars Film. 2 nominations here, and they are J.J. Abrams' Star Wars The Force Awakens. And secondly, Joseph Iliff's Star Wars Episode 2.5, The Phantom Clone Sith that gave a new hope for an empire of Jedis awakens. I'm going to be honest, you've not won. The Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams. On to the next award, and it's a biggie. It is Best Director. The nominations this year: Joseph Iliff, Being John Malkovich 2, George Miller, Mad Max Fury Road. I know, my goodness gracious me, would you believe it? It is George Miller for Mad Max Fury Road. There are so many perfectly executed set pieces throughout this film, and even though they're so huge in scale, they still feel so close to the action, you know, they still feel very intimate. You're watching all this action unfold on such a giant screen. I didn't even see it in IMAX or anything like that, but it still felt like it was just completely surrounding me. He's got so much imagination, and I don't think anyone else has the vision that he does, but you got the impression that when you were watching it, it was working out exactly as he had seen it in his head. It's full throttle for 2 hours, and at no point does the camera work dip and become tedious. With so much going on, I think the assumption is that when it's an action movie, you just point the camera and let the action do the work itself. That's not the case at all. It takes a really good director to be able to capture every moment. And for it all to be captured in such a dynamic and fast-paced way must have taken such a huge amount of effort and planning and work. There's no director with as much scope and vision as George Miller, and it's so good to have him back. Mad Max, what a film. He gets a very prestigious and extremely deserved Rory Award this year. And it's on to the top 5, where lots of you will be going, really? Really, Rory? Let's start with number 5. It's Danny Collins starring Al Pacino. I'm smiling already because I know that to most people this might sound ridiculous. I thought Al Pacino's performance in it was charming and funny. I thought, although it was such a simple tale and you know it's been done over and over again, it had a warmth to it that I haven't seen in those kind of films. Most people will watch it and forget all about it, but for some reason I find myself thinking about it again and again throughout the year, and because of that I think it probably deserves some kind of mention. At number 4 it's Sicario, which as soon as I saw the trailer I thought, oh yeah, I already know that's going to be one of my favourites. I don't want to say too much about the story. It's about the drug cartel in Mexico. Go see it. And on to number 3, it's Whiplash. Now, a lot of people will have said, no, it's a 2014 film. It's not. It is technically 2015, released over here in January. It's the story of a little drummer boy. Much like Jaws is not a story about a shark, this is not a story about a man playing drums. There's that theme running through it of someone who hasn't achieved anything themselves when they were younger, trying to force themselves onto a younger person to live their dream again. It's dramatic and tense, and the script is brilliant. Those closing 15 minutes, or however long it is, it felt like an hour to me, but it's probably about 30 seconds, are the most tense piece of filmmaking you'll see this year. Don't be put off by the 5-star reviews, do go and see it. At number 2, oh man, what a joy this film was, it is Kingsman. Matthew Vaughn has had success after success, and with this one I think he upped the ante even more. It's fun, it's not meant to be taken seriously, and at times I think it oversteps the mark. I just found it to be a huge amount of fun, the action sequences were brilliant, and Samuel L. Jackson with a lisp. More of that please. It's on to the most important award of the evening, the best film. So, without further ado, the best film of 2015 as voted at the Rory Awards is Disney Pixar's Inside Out, a heartwarming and deeply moving story that looks at the inner emotions of a girl as she moves from one place to another. Along the way, there is so much imagination, great characters, a deeply involving story, and that tendency that there is with the best Pixar films to show characters realising that actions have consequences, and that at some point you just have to accept that life will not always be this magical journey. I wept, I laughed, and I think I left the cinema happier than I've ever been in a very long time, and much more comfortable with where I am in life because of this film existing. If you haven't seen it, do. If you have, see it again, and if you've seen it again, see it again. It's the best film of 2015 for my money, and it wins this beautiful, beautiful award. Congratulations to Inside Out. And then we came to the end. Thank you for watching. It's been another wonderful year of films, and looking forward to next year, we've got a great host of horror films lined up, some good blockbusters, and the Oscar noms are right around the corner, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next year. Love to the wife. What a delicious can of iron brew I am enjoying whilst doing these awards.